And now I think it's my pleasure to introduce an all-around great aviation, in my mind, a legend, Mike Jesch. He will be presenting a seminar for us in just a few moments. And Mike has been a master CFI. He's also a member of the FAAST team for his area and presents seminars all around the country. I have the honor of being one of his students. I was his very first instrument student, and then he was my instructor for my commercial. So Mike has a wealth of information. He's forgotten more than I'll ever know about flying. So let's all give him a virtual round of applause to Captain Mike Jesch.
So good morning. Thanks for inviting me once again to speak today. It's been a pleasure to do this in the last couple of years, and looking forward to today as well. Yeah, I've actually now passed another instrument student last month. I passed my first multi-engine student last week, 2 weeks ago now. So still doing a little bit of instructing among all the other things I do. And in the past couple of years for this California Pilots Zooming event, I've presented, along with my good friend Brian Schiff, an event we call California Flying Oddities. It's kind of a tour around California about some of the things that make flying in California unique. And I thought I would add just a slightly different touch this year. So let me see. Unfortunately, Brian can't join me this year for it, but so you'll have just a solo act with me today. So California Flying Oddities, the 2022 edition. And so let's see if I can get my button working here. That's me in my native element at work. Just a couple years ago, I started flying the Boeing 787 on long-haul trans-Pacific flights. This was over the northern tip of China one time. I was just flying from Incheon, Korea over to Beijing right at sunset in that golden hour. Got a gorgeous picture over the South China Sea, there, the North China Sea, I guess it is. And that's what I've been doing lately. But I mostly fly around Southern California in my little airplane. I have a 182 that's based at Fullerton, California. I've got a couple of partners in the airplane. We've had it for about 15 years now, and I've taken advantage of that opportunity and flown all around California and kind of reestablished my general aviation roots. So I thought what we'd do today, just a slightly twist on it, we'll review and overview some of the sort of big picture things that make flying in California particularly interesting. And we'll stop in at quite a few airports along the way. But the extra twist I'm going to add this year is a little focus on things that will make these flights interesting for your non-flying companions, maybe a spouse, maybe a girlfriend, maybe both, maybe your kids. But why do you spend all this time and money to own and operate these airplanes? And give them some destinations to fly to. My wife isn't real crazy about flying in the airplane, but she enjoys the destination. So that's what we're going to talk about today. A couple airports with a little interesting things you need to be aware of as a pilot and why you might want to go there. Along the way here, if you have questions that you want to pose for me, please use the Q&A button and post it in there, and Jolie will be monitoring those, and she'll pass those questions along to me. And meanwhile, if you have just general chatter for the CalPilots board members or vice presidents for your region, any other chat you want to do, use the chat feature for that. I'm not going to be paying a whole lot of attention to that during the presentation here. So mostly use the Q&A, and let's get cracking here. So one quick thing, for your Zoom settings on your own Zoom account there, your own Zoom tool, if you follow the host's view or the gallery mode, whichever one you prefer, that'll work better for you. Especially if you're watching on an iPad or an iPhone kind of device, some tablet device. Sometimes it's easier if you turn off your chat notifications so that you don't get a box that pops up in the middle of the screen telling you you've got a chat. That meanwhile blocks the view of whatever I've got on the screen, because I mean, that's really important, right? So as Jolie and Carol Ford both mentioned, many of the presentations today, most of them are going to be available for Wings credits. This one is, and then our next speaker, Jim Wadley, will be on at 11 o'clock. His will be also available for a Wings credit. Following that, we'll have the CalPilots board meeting. There will be re-electing some board members. That's going to be at noon. Then we get to join John and Martha King at 12:30, and Captain Gary Shank will be giving a presentation at 2 o'clock. All these presentations will be issued for Wings credit, and we're going to use the email address that you used when you registered for this presentation on the Zoom website. So if that's not the email address you use for your Wings program, then you're going to need to probably just throw something in the chat, and I'll try to pick that up afterwards, and we can get the credit to the right place. This won't be granted right away. It's going to take me a couple of days to process all these. So if you should get these credits within about a week or so. And if you don't, then you can fire me an email and I'll look at the credit. So let's see, we talked about the Q&A. We got door prizes, as Jolie just mentioned. Again, you do have to be a member of CalPilots to win, and it's not too late. You can join now. You can go to this webpage. Jolie has also posted the link in the chat. Or if you just point your iPhone or whatever phone you've got, a smartphone, over at that QR code, that'll take you to the webpage as well. I'm going to use these QR codes a few times during my presentation. So keep your camera handy. And if there's one of these that strikes your fancy, then you can just just seeing a note here that I'm not sure I can set that. Jolie, hopefully you can figure out how to get chat enabled. And yeah, it looks like it's working. I'm seeing some chats. So keep your camera handy, and we will use those QR codes as you get a chance. The prizes that I get to award today are going to be this Precise Flight pulse oximeter. It's a very important tool. If you fly at higher altitudes and you use supplemental oxygen, you should have one of these. If you fly an airplane with a piston-powered engine in it, you should have one of these. Monitor your CO levels. We're also going to give away a lift flight cap. If you fly an open cockpit airplane, these are super handy. You keep your hair ever so nice for when you get to the destination. And the big thing I get to give away is a Lightspeed Zulu 3 headset, and Jolie will walk me through that at the appropriate time. So California is a little interesting, more interesting than some of the states. We have such a variety of terrain, natural and human terrain. We've got some of the highest mountains in the country. We've got some of the lowest elevations in the country. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We've also got what I call human terrain. We got 3 large cities with Class Bravo airspace in them. And we got, I forget how many Class Charlie airspaces and a lot of deltas. So just a lot of variety. Plus we've got an ocean on one side that, while it's not hard, not as hard as a mountain, it does form what constitutes a barrier. Not too many airplanes go fly out there. So the airspace, we got, here's a couple of the Class Bravo airspaces we have around the state. You'll notice that these are not your normal Class Bravo airspaces. Usually it's a sort of what we think of as an upside down wedding cake, and ours in California are not like that at all. Very complex. So if you're flying around an area that has one of these Class Bravos, you're going to need to have that terminal area chart handy, or know how to get to one on your EFB that you use. And be familiar with how to read it quickly so you can determine the altitudes in the area that you're concerned with. We've got a wide range of flight activities in the state. You can see here we've got all these red lines. I've highlighted military training routes, especially around this is just northwest of the Palmdale airspace. This is the Edwards Air Force Base. There's a lot of flight test activity, a tremendous amount of military flying that goes on over there. So be aware of this, be aware of these different flight activities. We've also got some glider activities up here. We've got special military all over the place. We've got flight advisory airspace. We've got military operating areas. We've got it all in California. So you really do need to just be aware that it's there. My advice is to talk to air traffic control as much as possible, get flight following or radar advisories, whatever you want to call it, so that they can keep you abreast of the aircraft operating in your area. We've also got a lot of test flying going on. We've got condor areas. We'll point out a couple of those in a little bit. We've even got spaceports. Just north of here is the Mojave Airport. It's a spaceport now. And as Carol mentioned briefly, we have a lot of unmanned aerial vehicles as well operating now in this airspace, and we're going to be seeing a lot more of that. So just such a variety of activity going on. So as far as the airports we're going to visit today, here's a list. We're going to spend a couple of minutes on each one of these and maybe a couple more along the way. This is not a comprehensive list of all the interesting airports in California. Somebody way smarter than me can probably tell you how many airports we have, but all of them are interesting in their own way. So this is not going to be all the great places to go. I could easily spend 15 or 20 minutes on any one of these, and there are hundreds, possibly thousands. So this is just a couple that I've been to over the years, found them a little interesting, and I think you will too. And more importantly, I hope your flying companion will. Here's another one of these QR codes. That's going to take you to a Google Sheets document that I've been working on, it's very basic. Just a list of airports with some websites and maybe a little brief information on the airport. Not comprehensive at all. There are a lot of better resources than that. But this is what I've been working on for the last couple of weeks. You got a lot of really good resources you need to be familiar with when flying around California or anywhere really. Most of us nowadays are using electronic flight bags of some sort. Whichever one you use, you need to be familiar with how to get a hold of the information you need. This is an illustration in ForeFlight. One of the greatest resources I use that I think is kind of overlooked by a lot of pilots is this airports tab down here at the bottom of the page. When you go to this and then type in the airport that you're interested in, over on the right-hand side is this comments button. And if you look at the remarks, these are the official remarks that are put out by the airport management about operating at the airport. So the same information is generally speaking available in the airport and facility directory portion of the chart supplement. And it's also available here. The comments page, on the other hand, is written by people like you and me who fly into the airport, and we submit a comment to ForeFlight and they'll add it to the database for that airport. So now you can get a little insight on that airport from somebody else who's been there. So it's kind of an interesting way to get to it, I think. What I notice on these user comments is a lot of them are very, very old. So some of the information is quite dated, and perhaps it's been superseded by new information from other pilots. Maybe the fuel island was down the day that somebody visited and they commented on that, and then 2 weeks later somebody visited and say, hey, it's back up again. Tapping on the information page on that airport page, and then if you scroll down a little bit, you can find the airport facility directory entry for it. This is the section right out of the official FAA document, out of the chart supplement that talks about that airport. So it's a quick way to get to the official approved information. So there's a lot of online tools. One of the ones that I've used for years now is airnav.com. You can type in an airport, you can type in a nav aid, you can type in an intersection, get information on this. And it's another great resource. It's not official, it's handled by this company, but I find it very, very useful. Another great resource is the local knowledge. And my first suggestion on this, if you scroll down on that AirNav page just a little bit, you get to this airport ownership and management from official FAA records. So this is who owns the airport and who manages the airport. And there will be a phone number in there. So I did this just yesterday. I was researching one of the airports that I'm going to show to you in a few minutes. And I had a question on something. I called that phone number. I talked to the assistant airport manager. He happened to be out mowing the lawn at the airport. So he said, hey, can I give you a call back in a few minutes? And he did. And so we spoke for a little bit, and he helped me straighten out some of the information I'll present to you. So local knowledge is always great. If you can't get a hold of somebody, then maybe there's a flight school at the airport you can call, and maybe they can put you in touch with one of their flight instructors who can point you in the right direction. So always great information there. So the first one we're going to go to is Agua Caliente Springs. This one is down a little bit north of the Mexican border, and it's out kind of almost in the middle of nowhere. You can see up here is the Julian VOR from San Diego. This is about 80 or 90 miles east of the San Diego area. It's out in the southern end of the Anza Borrego Desert. You can see over here to the east, we got some MOAs and just a little corner of a restricted area here on this one. And this airport is very basic. You look at the satellite view of it, there is a runway and that's it. There's not even a building at this. There's a little wide spot in the pavement. Maybe you could tie down 5 or 6 airplanes there. The first time I flew into this airport, I was by myself. And when I pulled into the ramp area there, I saw a Customs and Border Protection truck just kind of parked at the where this little road comes off the bigger highway. It just kind of stopped and waiting. And when I sat there for a couple minutes, finally I opened the door and they saw only one set of legs get out of the airplane and they took off running. So there is nothing at this airport. So why would you go there? I mean, there's no buildings, no instrument procedures, no rental cars. You'd be hard pressed to get an Uber or a Lyft out of there. So why go there? The answer is this little county park that's just a very short walk away. If we come back to this map, you can see this little trail that comes down here. You can walk down that trail and it takes you to this county park right there. And I've camped there before. There's about 140 campsites there for tent or RV. They got a couple of cabins. But the real draw here is there's natural hot springs and pools. There's hiking around there, the beautiful water. It's a fun little play area. They got an indoor pool, they got an outdoor pool. Really cool place to go. If you're going to camp there and if you're by yourself, you're going to want to bring some kind of a portable cart with big wheels on it so that you can bring your gear in from the airport over to the campground, or you can do what I did, and that's camp with another family who brings all your gear in their camper or their car and gets it onto the field for you. So that's the way we did it. It's much nicer. This facility is open from Labor Day to Memorial Day. So it's open now. They close it down during the summer because it's just too bloody hot over there. It's easily over 100 degrees every day. But you get those views like this that are just really cool. So here's a website that will take you to the park's information. And that's a good place to go to get started. They have brochures there for the campground itself. Trail maps and information on how to book your campsites. A beautiful place to park, and it's way out there in the middle of nowhere. The next one we're going to visit is just a little bit north of Agua Caliente. You can again see the Julian VOR here. So this one is just a little northeast of Julian VOR. It's still out in the Anza Borrego Desert. And you've got the Borrego Valley Airport, as some people call it, Borrego Springs. Borrego Springs is the town that's just west of the airport. What I want to point out here is we've got 2 glider symbols. We've got one up here over by Warner Springs with a G in it. We've got another one down here with an H in it. So the difference here is the one with the H is a hang glider, and the one up here is a sailplane, more like one that you sit inside that you're used to seeing, gets towed behind an airplane quite often to get up to altitude. So a little bit different kind of glider activity going on at each one, just so you have an idea of what you're looking for. There are a few services at this one. You see the little bumps on the side of the airport symbol there. There's fuel available if the pump is working. There's some of those comments in ForeFlight indicate that there have been some difficulties with it, but it does sound like it's open now. There's a restaurant that's open Wednesday through Sunday, so it's open today if you get over there, but don't go today. Wait until after California Zooming is over and fly over there tomorrow. This one even has an RNAV approach to runway 26. It comes in from the east way over here off the edge of the screen and toward the airport. And it's got a couple of IFR departure procedures, so that's kind of interesting to me that there's one way in and there's multiple ways out. There's probably a joke in there somewhere. A couple interesting things about this that you wouldn't be able to tell just by looking at the chart. But if you follow the link over to the airport facility directory entry in the chart supplement, you'll see a note here about there's an aerobatic box on the north side of the airport during daylight hours. So there's a lot of aerobatics going on. And this note in that AFD entry says to check the NOTAMs for activity. So if you check the NOTAMs, grab this one yesterday or maybe a day before out of ForeFlight, it looks like this. Aerobatic aircraft within an area defined a mile radius, and avoidance is advised daily from 1500 to 0100, and that's Zulu time. So ForeFlight will convert that into local time for you. So this is active today, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Actually, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it's active right now until this afternoon. There's probably an aerobatic competition going on at this airport. So do your research. Make sure you check out these airports when they have these weird kind of notes like this. So, oops. Yeah, so here's the kind of the 30,000 foot view. We've got our airport is over here. The main road into town looks pretty small. This is what passes for the downtown area here of Borrego Springs. There's really not much there. We've got a golf and country club over here. So if you're a golfer, that's kind of cool. There's another golf course up here, it looks like, maybe. But, oh, wait a minute, what's that? Borrego Springs serpent sculpture. Huh. And you come down here a little bit, we got Sky Art Desert Sculpture Scorpion. What the heck? Well, it turns out in the area there are about 60 of these metal sculptures in the desert. So this is really cool. My wife and I drove around these a couple of years ago, and we didn't see all of them. It's about a 22-mile drive to get to all of them. But there's your scorpion. You got an eagle flying out of its nest. I don't know, whatever those things are. Got some grape pickers. There's 60 of these things out in the desert, and it's a really cool drive to go look at these things. I'd never seen anything like it before. I didn't know they were there until shortly before we went there. But it was a fun day to bring a picnic lunch and go drive out to these things and look at them in the desert. There's actually, that earlier slide said there were 60 sculptures. I think there's 60 spots, but then there's 130 sculptures. So you get ones like this that have 3 sculptures in one place. And they're along a 22-mile road, most of them just a short distance off the main road. But there might be a little bit of dirt road driving to get to it, but a regular sedan can do that pretty easily. So here's the website for information on these tours. Take a little screenshot of that and enjoy the view. It's a good day out. There are no rental cars available at the airport. So if you fly in, you'll want to call into town. There's a couple rental agencies in town. You'll need to make sure that you can coordinate a car out to the airport. Maybe they'll come out and pick you up. The next one I want to visit is Big Bear. I've been to Big Bear many times. It's a great place to fly for a little bit of mountain experience. There's cumulogranite, all quadrants up here just north of the airport. We have 8,300 foot, 8,400 foot hills. On the south side, we're over 11,000 feet. So big mountains around here. The airport itself is at a 6,700 and some foot elevation. So right away, you should be thinking mountain flying. And if you're not well versed in mountain flying techniques, you really need to get together with a flight instructor who can show you the ropes. We lose about 1 airplane a year flying up there, having some difficulty flying at high altitude. So make sure you know your techniques and how to do this. If you can get a mountain flying course from a reputable organization, I really recommend it. A couple of years ago, I took one from the Colorado Pilots Association, and I found it very valuable, very useful. So Big Bear is a neat little mountain town. They've got a great website. I'll show you the link here in just a little bit. But you start out here on the airport website, and they got great information on how to fly in and out of the area from different directions. They show you the flight paths that they want you to take, and these are different than most airports have. So again, you need to do a little bit of research, and some of this is not available in the airport facility directory or in anywhere else. They're only available on this website that's right here. We've managed to safely get into the airport. Why did we come here? Well, if you go there in the summer or in the winter time, you got tons of great winter sports. You got tobogganing, you got skiing, you got snowshoeing, all sorts of stuff. It's a ton of fun in the winter time. In the summertime, you got zip lining, you got kayaking on the lake, you got these little Segway deals. Tobogganing also works in the summertime. I think it's a slightly different kind of toboggan. And then if you're quick, you can go there right now. They have a very popular Oktoberfest event with all sorts of German food, music, beer, whatnot. It's a great time. So that's a good reason to go there up to Big Bear. Again, make sure you get good mountain flying experience. If you're an airplane renter pilot, most flight schools that I'm familiar with in the Los Angeles area anyway, will not let you take their airplanes up to Big Bear until you've done a mountain flying checkout with one of their instructors. So flying from north to south across Los Angeles, I know this is very overwhelming airspace to a lot of pilots, especially if you're not from the area. You see a chart like this and you see all this yellow and all these magenta lines and all these blue lines. That can be pretty overwhelming. What I've highlighted here are several of the VFR routes north and south across the LA basin. But the first thing you notice about these is they're all inside Class Bravo airspace. So how do you do this? And if you're not from the area, one of the things you should be aware of is if you have the terminal area chart in the aircraft, if you're an old school pilot and you had the old paper chart, if you unfolded it out to the edge, you'd see a section that looks like this. This is the side panel that has the illustration on each of these routes over the top of LAX with the instructions and the frequency and whatnot to talk to. ATC clearance required, ATC clearance required, and so forth. This is all the information you need to fly on these routes. You must be talking to air traffic control. And one of my favorites is the mini route. This one, you're actually talking to tower controllers. You start out with Santa Monica Tower, and then you talk to LAX Tower, and then you call Hawthorne Tower at the south end of it. That's one of my favorites, but one of the most popular ones is the Los Angeles Special Flight Rules area. So let me pose a question to you. Is it ever okay to be in Class Bravo airspace without a clearance? Think about that for just a moment. Ever in Class Bravo without a clearance? And the answer is yes. If you are in this Los Angeles Special Flight Rules area, the SFRA, a lot of people colloquially call it the corridor, you are in Class Bravo airspace without a clearance. And if you're going to do that, you must follow these rules down here that are printed on the chart. And one of these rules is you must have this chart on board the airplane. So how do you get this? A lot of people using these tablet devices do not know how to get this information, but you must have it. Paper charts are going the way of the dodo birds. So you need to get a hold of something that's got the accurate information for you. And I'll show you an illustration in ForeFlight. If you come into ForeFlight here, you tap on the Documents tab down here at the bottom. And then if you scroll down in this catalog over on the left side, if you scroll down to the Drives section in the FAA Drive, tap on that, you're going to see, when you tap on that, you're going to look for this Visual Chart Supplemental folder. When you tap on that, you're going to see a whole bunch of chart supplementals from across the country that are available to you. And you should make sure that you have this Los Angeles TAC supplemental. And if you have that little green check mark up there in the upper right corner of it, then this is downloaded onto your tablet and onto your ForeFlight on your iPad, and you have this information. When you tap on that document that's stored on your iPad, you're going to get this. You'll see the Los Angeles TAC supplemental up here, and here's happens to be the Coliseum route. It's that same information that was on the edge of the TAC chart, but it's individuals for each one. So we've got 6 pages in here, and you can scroll through and find the chart the route that you want to fly, and it's got all the instructions on there. So if you have this document on board your iPad, now you've got the official legal TAC information you need to fly this diagram. I see a question in there about the mini route. The problem with the mini route lately, yeah, it's insufficient manpower. The LAX tower controller position on the east side in the tower there, in the tower cab, has to be, and have to have enough personnel on staff who are qualified to work that position. Due to COVID, they haven't been able to do any training at all there. So they've not been able to get anybody qualified on that position. And there just aren't enough people in the office, in the tower cab there, to be able to do it. Very rarely is it available. Sometimes it's just a kind of a crapshoot whether you're going to be able to get it or not. So keep trying. And if you try and they tell you no, then maybe hopefully they'll log that and they'll be able to see that, hey, people want to do this. It's my favorite way over the airport, and it's a lot of fun. So moving on up the coast a little bit, just a quick stop here in Santa Barbara. It's a large coastal airport. There's 2 FBOs on the field, but the good news is there's self-serve fuel. The fuel in the FBOs, it must be really good fuel because it's bloody expensive. Over $8 at one of the FBOs as of yesterday. Be careful moving in here, especially if you're not familiar. I didn't bring up the taxi diagram, but you can see here from the logo on the chart, you've got crossing runways at an angle. It's a complex airport, so make sure that you have your taxi diagram out. Know how to read your airport signage, match up what you see out the windows with what's on the chart with where you're going. And if you're in doubt, then stop on some yellow paint, preferably. Don't stop on white paint. Stop on yellow paint and ask ground control for directions. It is Class C airspace. There's a fair amount of traffic, a little bit of airline traffic. But with the Class C there, you'll want to make sure that you're talking to ATC on your way in and out. What's cool about Santa Barbara is you can see how close it is to the ocean there. You've got the Santa Barbara, UCSB, University of California, Santa Barbara is right next to the airport. But you can park at that FBO and it's a short walk, maybe a 10-minute walk down to the beach. So you can bring a picnic lunch, go down to the beach, watch the dolphins play in the surf. You can see the islands offshore. It's a beautiful day. There is a restaurant on the pier. It's closed at the moment. It's supposed to be open. I keep hearing real soon now. But if you're going to visit the broader area, there's a lot of museums in town. There's great restaurants. There's the Mission that has a lot of activities there sometimes. So it's another great place to go for a day out. I flew up there once with my wife and my in-laws. I had a nice lunch at the restaurant on the beach and then a great flight back. Be careful though, especially in the early summer, you can get a marine layer coming in there. So if you're not instrument rated and qualified and current, you might get stuck there when that marine layer moves in the afternoon. Here's a website with some good information about Santa Barbara Airport and the area. So grab a shot of that. And we'll move up just to the other side of the ridge. You can see Santa Barbara down here in the lower left and lower right corner. So just a little ways off to the northwest of that, just north of the Gaviota VOR, right along this ridge line here, and that'll be important in just a second, is Santa Ynez Airport. This one, if you note, we've got this little glider logo over there. There's a lot of glider activity there. The good news is the glider traffic patterns are always on the north side. The powered airplanes are on the south. So they kind of segregate the traffic that way. If you can't get into Santa Barbara, you can often get into Santa Ynez because it's on the other side of that ridge that kind of stops that marine layer from coming in. So the weather at Santa Ynez is often VFR when Santa Barbara is IFR. So that might be kind of handy. At the airport, once you get off of the airport, there's a ton of things to do in the valley. There's wine tasting, there's hiking trails, there's horseback riding. And just west of the field is that little town of Solvang. This is a little Danish community there, a great food, music, beverages in that town. So well worth a visit. I want to point out over here, just on the other side of Solvang, just past Buellton, there is a parachute symbol. So there is parachuting activity there, and they take off from the airport. So be aware you might see some meat bombs dropping in your area and you don't want to run into them. Here's a website there for visiting the San Ynez Valley. There's also casinos in the area, and I've heard that the casinos, they have a little shuttle bus and they'll come out to the airport and pick you up and bring you into town. So maybe that's your route into town. Okay, just a little bit north of San Ynez, you heard Carol Ford mention a couple of minutes ago, New Koyama. I think this will come up again in conversation later on in the day. This is California's newest reopened airport. It's been closed for a couple years. The runway was in pretty bad shape, pretty rough for a long time, but they just reopened it a couple weeks ago. So I have not been there yet, but I've heard from people who have been there that the runway is in excellent condition. And this is so new that the nav databases in ForeFlight and airnav.com don't have this airport yet. It's been off the roster. So you're on your own for navigating there. Maybe you can drop a lat long point there. But a couple points flying in and out of here I want to point out. Down here in the lower left corner, you can see this condor sanctuary. So these little dots next to the line there display where that condor sanctuary is. There's another area up here and just north of the airport a little bit. You want to be real careful flying through this area. They would prefer that you fly at least 3,000 feet AGL there. But you don't want to hit one of these birds. These birds are large and they will do some serious damage to your airplane. So you want to be aware of that and avoid them as much as possible. So if you look at this sectional on the broader range here, you can see this little tiny road here, looks like a dry riverbed all the way around. A little tiny dot there for the town of Koyama. New Koyama is just over here to the west, but doesn't look like there's much there. And in fact, their website takes pride in pointing this out. It's perfectly in the middle of nowhere. So why would you want to go there? One good reason is to support small community airports. This one is managed by the Blue Sky Center, which is a community nonprofit organization that took it upon themselves to raise some money and reconstruct this airport. And I think it's important that we support airports that do this. We want to have good places to fly our airplane. And when a community does this, we want to reward them for that by coming to fly in there. I've heard there's fuel on the airport, so go buy fuel there. I don't know. Again, I haven't been there yet. But in the area, there's nature walks all around. There's wine tasting. There's farm tours. A pretty nice hotel there, it looks like. A restaurant not on the field, but a very short walk away that I've heard very good things about. And here's a website for Visit Koyama, which is the tourist area for a tourism site. They call this the Hidden Valley of Enchantment. So if you want to get away, that might be a good place to do that. Continuing out westbound here, I know this one is near and dear to Jolie's heart. Oceano, right on the coast. Beautiful little airport. There's no instrument approaches here. So if you're a VFR only pilot, you need a VFR weather day. And if not, just up north here is San Luis Obispo. And in fact, the very first time I went up there with my wife, we had to divert to San Luis and rent a car. We had a hotel booked at the Pacific Plaza Resort, just a short walk away from the airport. So obviously we couldn't walk there from San Luis Obispo. We had to rent a car and come down. So, that's just the kind of day it is. There's a little mix of traffic there. There's a biplane tour operator. I believe skydiving is still going on there, but a very vibrant airport activity here. The Friends of Oceano Airport, Jolie Lucas is very intimately familiar with this organization. I'm on the board and several other people here are as well. They run events at the airport. They work very closely with the county to make sure the airport is in good shape. You can see here on the ramp area, there's a little green triangle shape right there. That's a campground. So one of the airports in California that you can camp right on the field. And they do activities every year. Over Mother's Day weekend, there's an airport appreciation day. Usually in late August, there's a movie night, a fly-in movie night. And then in December, coming up shortly, she'll be talking about this a little bit later. They do a Toys for Tots drive for the local community, usually the first weekend in December. So keep that on your calendar. In town, there's, excuse me, there's a a community theater, the Melodrama, that does great shows. We've seen lots of shows in there, and it's a ton of fun. You can also walk the other direction from the airport here, or there's free bikes for borrow a bike from the airport, and it's a short drive down the street there, and you're on the beach. There's quite a few restaurants in the area that you can walk to. So a lot of great things to do at that airport. And again, a small community airport that wants your business, that wants you to come in there and enjoy the community, enjoy the beach. So we need to go do those things. So if you've got a non-flying companion who likes to fly with you, that's a great place to go. If you see, here's the website for the Friends of Oceano Airport. So go take a look there. They have some cameras on the field that if you're wondering what the weather is, if you're a short ways away, you can check this view from the webcam and check the weather. They also now have an ASOS. I believe they don't have a frequency it's transmitted on yet. Jolie can correct me if I'm wrong there, but I believe you can call in and get it. And I didn't look into it that far. So when you have an airport that's doing something like this, they want your business, it's a good idea to go there. So if you couldn't make it into Oceano, you can go just north up here to San Luis Obispo. This is a little bit bigger airport. There's a little bit of airline traffic there, not quite as much as Santa Barbara, but certainly a lot less than something like LAX or San Francisco. This is real close to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Cuesta College is a little ways west of there. If you fly into here, this is kind of your jumping off point for Morro Bay, which is right here. Morro Rock is right on the end of this little spit of land. A little bit farther up the coast, you've got Cambria, you've got Big Sur, you've got San Simeon, and San Luis Obispo is probably the easiest place to fly into if you want to visit those places. One time, my wife and I went up there, and we stayed at the Madonna Inn, which is kind of a little kitschy getaway hotel. It was started in the late 1950s. There's about 110 rooms, and each room is unique. A lot of stone involved, so kind of rustic each room. A beautiful dining area. It's worth a stop. So put this one on your map. Kind of a fun getaway weekend. We stayed there for an anniversary a few years ago. Here's a website, visitslow.com, with good information on visiting that area. So continuing a little bit farther up the coast, almost just on the west side of the Bay Area here is Half Moon Bay. This one is real close to San Francisco Airport. You go just 8 or 10 miles here to the southwest, you get Half Moon Bay. My stepfather-in-law used to have some property down here in Pescadero, so we'd fly into here and rent a car, or they'd come and pick us up and we'd stay at the house down there. It's a neat little airport though. This one is a little bit complex because we've got all this airspace. We've got all this Class Bravo airspace lines around here with bases down to 4,000 in this area, 6,000 on that area. There are a couple instrument approaches, RNAV approaches. So if you've got just terrestrial nav aid, then you're out of luck if it's IMC, which it often is. So you fly into this airport, and there's a pretty good restaurant in the terminal building right here. There's fuel available right here on the ramp area. But if you park instead down here at the southeast end of the field, you can see here in this satellite view, that parking area takes you right about here. And then it's just a short walk through a gate right there into town. And you can see that restaurant, bar, restaurant, tons of places to eat right there. There's there's an inn right here on the water. There's a couple of motels and inn kind of things around here. Coffee place, restaurant. Down here we got a sport fishing charter. So you can fly into the airport for the day and do a ton of different activities at this airport. It's kind of a fun place to go. And here's the Visit Half Moon Bay website with good links to show you all that stuff. Moving farther up the coast, Shelter Cove. This is one that's been on my radar for a number of years, and my wife and I finally were able to fly up there about a year ago, a little over a year ago. This one's a little bit tricky because it's VFR only. And again, being right on the coast at certain times of the year, it can be subject to a lot of marine layers. So you might not be able to get in. Uh, Departing is another story. If you're comfortable with that, it's possible to depart, but it's a little tricky. Nonetheless, there's not a whole lot around it. Oops, got an extra copy of that one. This is a picture I took on the downwind for runway 30, and you can see it's a pretty basic airport. Not a whole lot there. There is a parallel taxiway. It takes a little dive over toward the runway right there. There's a parking area up here at the north end of the runway and another one down here at the south end. We parked here at the south end. Right next to the airport, there's a restaurant right here, a brewery and restaurant. Pretty good food in there. There's a campground in this area right here, just straight off the end of the runway is a campground. There's an RV park. So if camping is your thing, it's very convenient to the airport. There's a little bit of a harbor over here. I think there's a fishing operation out of here. You can go get a day boat for fishing. There's a really cool old lighthouse that was moved down to the airport there. What we did, we brought a little cart and we walked across the runway here. And right on the rocks here, this is an inn right here, and that's another one, little motel kind of operation. And we booked a room in this one right here and enjoyed just a real quiet weekend away. Not a lot of internet service there, so you're kind of disconnected. It's a great way to get away. Now, we walked up this little street here over toward the northwest. Off the end here is a couple more restaurants and inns up there. There's a black stone beach there that's just beautiful and very lightly populated. Nice, quaint little town. This is the view from our bedroom the next morning. There's tide pools right off the coast there. There's sea lions that like to haul out on those rocks and they start barking first thing in the morning. So if you're not a morning person, you might want to find someplace else to stay. These little guys get kind of noisy in the afternoon, but it's a gorgeous place just to get away and be quiet. You don't need a car. There's no Uber and Lyft in town. You might find a bicycle useful, especially maybe a electric pedal assist kind of bike. But you can get around most of the town pretty easily on foot. And here's your Shelter Cove website. So that's it for coastal airports. We're going to take a little turn out to the east now, and we'll stop in here at South Lake Tahoe. I think we're going to hear a little bit more about South Lake Tahoe shortly. This is over right on the California-Nevada border. Here's the borderline, comes right down there and makes a turn and avoids the airport. This one does have a couple instrument approaches. They're both to runway 18. Believe it or not, I used to fly a 737 in there about 30 odd years ago when I became a co-pilot at the airline. I went in there a couple of times back when they used to have a control tower there. And since the airlines have all pulled out now, there's not much need for it. So the tower is closed at the moment. So this one's a little bit tricky in that it's high terrain. You see the elevation here again at 6,200 feet. It's just about what Big Bear is. And we've got cumulogranite in all quadrants. We've got 9,000 feet, almost 9,000. There's over 9,000 all the way around. We've got, you can see ski area, ski lifts over here. We've got some more, I think over here somewhere, there's some ski areas. Squaw Valley is over, yeah, ski lift right there. So a lot of winter sports here. So if you're into hiking, snow skiing, snowboarding, snowshoeing, that's all available in the winter time. In the summertime, again, a lot of water activities on the lake there. It's a gorgeous lake if you've never been there. I think it's one of the most beautiful lakes in the country. One of the oldest lakes in the world, believe it or not, and one of the deepest lakes. It's deep enough you can put the Empire State Building in there and it won't break the surface. So why fly in here? You got all these activities going on. Here's one of my favorite stops over on the northeast side. This is actually on the Nevada side. This is the Thunderbird Lodge and Yacht. It was a getaway home for a guy named George Whittle, who's descended from California immigrants about 150 years ago that came out to follow the gold rush, and they struck it rich in real estate and a whole bunch of other things. My aunt was a caretaker here in the 60s, and one of her sons, one of my cousins, is a docent there now, and he's a captain on this yacht, which is one of the largest, most beautiful wooden yachts that's you'll find anywhere in the country. My uncle used to work for Harrah's, and in the late 60s, they brought that boat in, and my uncle he was involved with building this little flying bridge on the top of it. That's a more recent addition. When I visited this a couple of years ago, the boat was in dry dock, getting some work done on it. And believe it or not, they re-engined this thing. Now it's powered by twin Allison engines, the same kind that power a P-51. So it's got a lot of horsepower. It's very fast, and it's really cool. So there's a website you can go to for information on this, on the property and the boat. And it's out of the water right now. It'll be open probably next April, maybe May. They'll get it back on the water. So it's worth a trip out there to see that boat. It's just beautiful. A little south and west of Lake Tahoe, we come to Columbia. There's really nothing super tricky about flying in here. There's no tower. There is one instrument approach, so that's kind of handy. One cool thing about this airport is it has a grass runway that's open to the public, so you can fly in and try your hand on grass. There is a campground on the field just on the north side there. It's not depicted on the map here, but you see that little building is the outhouse kind of building that's nearby there. So there's camping on the field. And why fly into Grass Valley or into Columbia? They do the annual Father's Day fly-in weekend. This is actually where I met Jolie about 15 years ago. She was camping there, and my wife and daughter and I flew in there. Jolie was in the tent right next to ours, and we met, and we've been friends ever since. So it's a great little flying with a lot of antique airplanes, warbirds, and so forth. A great family event. So if you're going to fly in there with a non-flying partner, why would you bring them here? And the answer is it's gold rush country. You can take a short trail walk from the airport, just a few minutes, and you come into this old 1850s, 1860s style historic gold rush town, and you can pan for gold. You can learn blacksmithing. There's restaurants, there's ice cream parlors, there's saloons. It's a great day out, and the kids love to do that sort of thing. So this is why you have an airplane to bring them out. So Columbia is a great place to visit, and here's the website for visitcolumbiacalifornia.com. Go there, take a look, and make a day out of it. And the last airport we're going to visit is Furnace Creek. This is over on the other side of the Sierra Mountains. And so be careful crossing that mountain ridge. Again, if you're going to fly in the mountains, you want to get some mountain flying training and learn about how those winds will really toss you around there. But once you get to the other side, we got Furnace Creek. This one, it's, again, not too difficult. There's nothing really extraordinary about flying here, other than it's kind of a low elevation here. It's minus 210. So the traffic pattern altitude is 780 feet MSL, which sounds kind of low, but it's 1,000 feet above the ground. So it's kind of fun to see your altimeter go unwinding and go negative. Nonetheless, even though it's a low elevation airport, last couple of years, the visitors center is right next to the airport there, and that's where you see all the famous photographs of the thermometer with a really hot temperature in the summertime. In the last few years, it's hit over 130 degrees there. So even though we're below sea level, minus 210 here, the density altitude at those temperatures are almost 5,000 feet. So it's really hot. I don't know why anybody would want to fly there when it's that hot. So don't forget to bring a lot of water. So why do you want to fly here? And here's a little depiction of the airport up here. You can take a short walk down this airport road right down here. Here's the visitor center with that thermometer in the front of it. Airport Road. You can come down here to the Last Kind Words Saloon and Steakhouse and have lunch. It's kind of a cool place to have lunch. There are stables down here. There's a golf course right around the field here. There's a pretty good sized resort that's just a short distance off the map here. So you got dining, you got a motel. You can rent Jeeps and go drive out in the desert, not too far away from here. So kind of an interesting thing to say you've landed at the lowest elevation airport in the United States. And one of these days I'm going to do a flight where I take off from Leadville, which is the highest elevation airport, and land at Furnace Creek, which is the lowest. I know others have done it. But it's kind of interesting to take a picture of your altimeter at both airports, and it looks almost identical when you're on the ground at both airports, just slightly different. So here's a website for the National Park Service website there. It's got a good jumping off point for visiting the Furnace Creek and the Death Valley area. It's really cool. So a couple general flying tips for you when you're flying around California. Make sure you plan ahead and look not just at the airport facility directory section of the chart supplement. Look not just at the airport and the user comments that you can see in something like ForeFlight or an AirNav, but you might just Google the town name and say visit so-and-so, and you'll get some website that's got information that's going to be useful for making plans for your spouses, your companions on these kind of trips. Make sure you've got something for them to do too, and then they'll want to join you on the next one. Know the airspace. Get familiar with how to read these charts, understand where you're flying, what you're flying through, and how to get your clearances to the next portion of it. Make plans for your passengers. Look at the weather. Don't go there if it's going to be super hot, super windy, super bumpy. They don't like that. You want them to enjoy it and want to come with you again on the next trip. So enjoy the view, have fun, go out and do this stuff, go to these places, and you'll have more reason to spend all that time and money on your airplane. And finally, fly safe, fly more, and have fun. My mantras for flying, this is why we have airplanes, so we get to do it more often. You can come visit, I've got a YouTube channel. I just recently got a new handle on there, so it's a little easier way to get to it. Got a lot of videos on there that I've been doing over the last couple of years, webinars that I presented, and that's how you get to those. This again is a link to that Google Sheets document I was telling you about with some links and information on some of these airports. And I thank you so much for coming to this portion of our presentation. We've got a few minutes here for some Q&A, and let's see. Do we have any, Jolie, you want to hit me with something?
Let's see. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
All righty. You know, a lot of them we've been answering as we've been going along.
Great.
But there was a great question from Eric about whether the California State Department of Transportation has a similar airport guide to other states. We don't know of one is the answer to that. But what a great project that would be, to maybe get some grant money or something so that we could develop that same sort of thing in California. So I'm just looking to see if there are any other questions in the Q&A for you. We do have a question.
I agree. And I've often thought there's some states, I know Virginia does this, they have a passport where if you get stamps for landing at all the airports in Virginia, you can get a prize at the end of the day. I'd like to see something like that, maybe in coordination with the Caltrans Department of Airports and CalPilots. And I'd sure like to see something like that, some reason to go out and visit some of these airports. There's something available out at the end of it. I think that'd be fun.
And folks are wondering if you could repeat some of your URLs in the chat. So that can be done anytime today. I thought somebody did that earlier on your Google Sheets page.
Yeah, they are. It's not a Keep, it's a Sheets. It's just a kind of a spreadsheet kind of a thing with a list of airports, and all those links are in there. Okay. So maybe that's enough. No, it's not. I cut
and pasted that in.
I see Diane just said, is it on the CalPilots website? No, but we'll talk with Andy. Maybe we can get a link on the, kind of a sub page for today's presentations with links for further information. We'll see about doing that. I think it's a good idea.
Absolutely.
This is Carol. Isn't it true that Mike, and Jolie, you're going to put the presentations on our YouTube channel for this later on? Isn't that right, Jolie?
We're going to try to do that.
Yes.
And won't the links be there also?
We'll do as much as we can. I think that's a good idea.
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Anything else, Jolie?
Well, we've got go ahead, Mike. And then we've got our door prizes.
Oh yeah. I did see one question about Stovepipe Wells, and I meant to mention that on the Furnace Creek. Stovepipe Wells is just north of Furnace Creek a little bit. There's not much there, but a friend of mine did fly there a few months ago in the springtime before it got hot. And it's kind of an interesting place to go, it sounds like. I've never been there. But they had some really wild storms this summer, and they got a tremendous amount of rain there. And I believe I saw where the runway was pretty badly damaged in those storms. I don't know the current state of it, but I'm given to understand at the moment it's essentially closed, not usable. So if you're going to fly there, I would very definitely check it out. Maybe call somebody local, see if you can get some local intel on the airport and make sure the condition before you get there.
Hey, Mike, we do have a question from Michael Altman. Can you comment on the airspace, excuse me, around Santa Barbara and Santa Ynez? It looks complicated for VFR.
Let me see if I can pop up a chart here. And yeah, I just happen to have this right here. And see if I can get to this reasonably here. Okay, move this box out of the way. So this is on SkyVector. This is the airspace around Santa Barbara down here in Santa Ynez. Are you seeing that okay? Looks like you should be. So it looks like a little extra complicated here. If I maybe I can do this. Let me see. Yeah. One of the things that's complicated about this is we got these gray boxes here that kind of do a big loop around the airport. These are military training routes that go right around the Santa Ynez. These are IR 425, so being a 3-digit number, they're a little bit higher elevation. You can see 3,000 to 6,000, 3,000 to 10,000, 1,400 AGL up to 10,000. There could be military traffic on these routes. And when I spoke to the airport manager there yesterday, I asked him about that and said, well, how often do you see military traffic on those routes? He told me very rare. But if you're talking to Santa Barbara Approach, they should be in communication with any aircraft operating on those routes. So they will know about it and they should be able to tell you about it. So this is another great reason to be talking to air traffic control when you're operating around the area there. They should be up to speed on what's going on and they can help you through that. As far as the airport at Santa Barbara itself, we got this Class Charlie airspace. So that's just kind of routine. You just have to be talking to air traffic control. There's no clearances involved or anything. Also notice it's a 4,000 foot ceiling on that on both portions of this. So it's pretty low. If you're VFR cruising westbound at 4,500 or 6,500, you're above their airspace and you don't have to talk to anybody. It's a good idea too. And Santa Barbara controllers are great. A couple years ago, my pilot group flew up there and we got to tour the facility there, both the tower cab and the terminal radar approach control facility. And we took some of their controllers for flights in the airplane. We flew them out of the Santa Barbara airport up around here, almost towards Lompoc, not quite all the way there. And then we did the instrument approach there just so they could see from our side what that looks like. And I think we'll be talking shortly here with Jim is going to talk about interfacing with your airport management. I think that's really important. And this is just a slightly different twist on that. As a pilot, as an aircraft owner at your airport, you really ought to be interfacing with not just your airport manager, but your air traffic control facility that works there also. The more open you can keep these lines of communication, the better it is. You can show them what the world looks like from your point of view. And the thing that I pointed out to the controllers I flew was when we get a traffic point out for air traffic control, traffic 2 o'clock, 3 miles, same altitude, you look over there and how hard is it to find that traffic? They don't really appreciate that because on their radar scope, it looks the same as yours. It should be plainly visible, but from the airplane, it's just not. So I can't encourage you strongly enough to talk to air traffic control as much as you can. They really want to keep you away from this other traffic and keep you out of trouble. It's worthwhile. Probably the biggest complication in the Santa Barbara area is this terrain, this ridge line. You see a 4,000 feet there, 4,200 feet obstacles here, 4,300 almost, 3,000. So you got the physical constraints of the terrain there. That's almost more work to deal with that than it is to deal with the airspace. So hopefully that answers that question. What else have you got?
This is Carol. There's a question in the chat of how to save the chat, and I just wanted to mention to the right of where you would answer something, there's 3 little dots. If you press those dots, it says save chat, and you click that and the whole chat is saved.
Yep, thanks for that, Carol.
Mhm.
So, Jolie, what do we got to give away here?
Well, I'm so excited. We just have some awesome things. So for the first 3 presentations of the day, and I thought I started my video, there we go. We are giving away an extra pulse oximeter from Precise Flight. So
Very
for
cool.
your presentation here, we have 2 different pulse oximeters, one for a brand new member, either yesterday or today, and then one for an attendee. We have the Lift Flight Cap, and then we have the Lightspeed Zulu 3 headset.
I want one of those.
I know, right? And I did some test flying for Lightspeed, and with their brand new headset that has some wonderful CO detection of abilities and sound quality, and a great app that goes with it. So it's wonderful. I texted you the winners if you want to be Vanna White, or I can be Vanna White.
All right, so the first pulse oximeter winner is going to go to David Mackler. I believe that's the new member because I know who the other member is. So welcome, David. Thanks for joining CalPilots today, and you get to go home with a pulse oximeter. Awesome.
And so we will be contacting our winners by email with the way to get your prizes sent to you. So we got to make sure that your emails are all correct.
And the other pulse oximeter is going to go to Art Friedman. So good job, Art. It's good to see you again. I haven't seen you for a little while. Okay, and so Art Friedman is probably the existing member of CalPilots, and the flight cap is going to go to Joel Rothschild.
Congratulations, Joel.
So congratulations, Joel. Thanks for joining CalPilots. Thanks for being a member and supporting your small airports in California. And the big prize here, the Lightspeed Zulu 3, is going to go to Sharon Crotty. So congratulations, Sharon. I think you'll enjoy flying with this great piece of hardware.
Yes, congratulations. And thank you again to all of our great aviation companies that have provided door prizes for us. I have put those links in the chat. Please remember that the holidays are coming up, whether we like to think about it or not. And so it's a great time to support these companies that support California Pilots Association. And as well, please mention if you do shop with them that you heard about their services and products here. As many of you know, California Pilots Association has been around since 1949. We're an all-volunteer organization, and so we are driven by members and membership. And so we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 new members since your seminar, Mike. And so
awesome.
Sign up. We have some great prizes throughout the day. And thank you for your wonderful presentation, Mike. His YouTube channel is really beyond compare. And it's something that is nice because Mike is an expert, of course, and those of us who aren't quite experts sometimes need to pause and rewatch something. Particularly helpful for me in the 430, 530 seminars that you did, to be able to pause and go back. So make sure to check out his YouTube channel, and it's wonderful.